Hello friends, myself Dr. Nidhi Darbari on My Education Treasure. Today in my present video I am going to tell you about the metaphysics of Vaisheshik philosophy part 1. Its Padarth or categories, that is Abhava or non-being. The Vaisheshik philosophy is next to Sankhya Darshan in origin and is of great antiquity than the Nyaya Darshan. It is pluralistic realism which provides importance of diversity, which is the soul of the universe. The founder of this philosophy was Sannyasi Kanad, also known as Kanak Bhuk or Uluk and Kashyap, who used to live on grains picked up by him from the fields. His Vaisheshik Sutra was commented by Prashastpad in his Padarth Dharam Sangrah, and also Uddayan and Sridhara wrote commentaries on it. Later on, this darshan fused with Nyaya, which accepted its ontology and developed it in the light of epistemology. The scholars Shivaditya, Logaski, Bhaskara, Vishwanath and Anam Bhatt combined the two systems into one. The metaphysics of Vaisheshik philosophy. The highlights of this philosophy are Padarth or categories. The Vaisheshik system is regarded as conducive to the study of all darshan of Indian philosophy. It mainly deals with the categories and unfolds its atomistic pluralism. This category is called Padarth, and the entire universe is reduced to 6 or 7 Padarth. Padarth literally means the meaning of a word or the objects signified by a word. All objects of knowledge or all reals come under Padarth. Padarth means an object which can be thought and named. A Padarth is that which is knowable and nameable. That is, all that is real comes under the object of knowledge called Padarth. The Vaisheshik Darshan is a pluralistic realism philosophy of identity and difference, which emphasizes that the heart of reality consists in difference. It is a catalogue of knowables, an enumeration of the diverse reals without any attempts to synthesize them. All that is real comes under the object of knowledge and is called a Padarth. The Vaisheshik Darshan divides all existent reality or Padarth into two broadly classes: Bhav or being and Abhav or non-being. 6 categories come under Bhav and the 7th is Abhav. All knowledge necessarily points to an object beyond and independent of it. The 6 Bhav categories or Padarth of knowledge are substance, quality, activity, generality, particularity, and inference. Originally, the Vaisheshik Darshan believes in the 6 categories, and the 7th, that of Abhav or negation, was added later on. Though its propounder, Kanad, himself speaks of Abhav, yet he does not give it the status of a category, to which it was raised only by the later Vaisheshiks, the followers of Vaisheshik Darshan. The Vaisheshik Padarth or categories are divided into two: Bhav or being and Abhav or non-being. In Abhav, substance or dravya, attributes or gun, action or karma, particular or vishesh, universal or samanya, and inherence or samvaya comes. In Abhav or non-being, only Abhav comes. Abhav or non-being. The last category is Abhava or non-being. Kant does not mention it as a separate category. It was added afterwards. The first 6 categories are positive. This one is negative. Some later adherents to Vaisheshik recognized a 7th category of knowledge, that is non-existence. Abhav means non-existence of anything. Vaisheshik school, being realist, believes that just as knowledge is different from the object known and necessarily points to some object, similarly, knowledge of negation different from the thing negated and necessarily points to some object which is negated. Moreover, being also implies non-being. There are 2 types of non-existence or abhav. Mutual negation. First, it is sometimes the case that one thing is not another thing. Non-existence of something because it is something else, that is, they mutually excludes each other. For example, a table does not exist as chair, that is, S is not P. Anonya bhav is absence of identity between 2 objects. Mutual negation or anonya bhav means non-existence of a thing as another thing. Non-existence of correlation or samsarga bhav. Second, it is sometimes the case that one thing does not inhere in another thing. Absence of something else or non-existence of correlation between 2 things. S is not in P. Samsat bhav is absence of relation between 2 objects. If you found the video to be informative and interesting, I request you all to please give a like to the video to motivate me, share it with others and subscribe it so that whenever I upload a new video, you can get a notification. Non-existence is of 4 kinds. Antecedent non-existence or pragav bhav, that is non-existence of a thing before its production, that is abhav of pot in clay, beginningless, having end. The first is the non-existence of a thing before its production. Antecedent negation has a beginning but has no end. It begins when the thing is destroyed and has no end, since the same thing cannot be produced again. Subsequent non-existence, pradhavana bhav, that is non-existence of a thing on account of its destruction after production, that is abhav pot in broken parts of pot, what, beginning but not end. The second is the non-existence of a thing after its destruction. The third one is mutual non-existence, atyant bhav, that is absolute non-existence, that is above color in the air. The third is non-existence of a thing as another thing which is different from it. Mutual negation is exclusion and is opposed to identity. It is both beginningless and endless. And fourth one is absolute non-existence, atvant bhav. The fourth is pseudo-idea, the absence of a relation between 2 things in the past, the present and the future. Active replication is a pseudo-idea. Hare's horn, barren woman's child, sky flower, are its classical examples. The other categories are regarded as absolute, but this category is relative in its conception. Absolute negation is an impossibility, a pseudo-idea. Negation necessarily presupposes some affirmations. The Vaisheshik, being a realist, believes that just as knowledge is different from the object known, which exists independently of that knowledge and necessarily points to some object, similarly, knowledge of negation is different from the thing negated and necessarily points to some object which is negated. Absence of an object and knowledge of its absence are different. A pot does not exist before its production, not after its destruction, nor is a cloth, not is there a liquid pot. The other things, negation, antecedent, subsequent, and absolute, are called non-existence of correlation or samsarg bhav, which implies the non-existence of something in something else. S is not in P. If antecedent negation is denied, then all things would become indistinguishable, and if absolute negation is denied, then all things would exist always and everywhere. The view of non-existence is based on this ontological perception of the Vaisheshik darshan. According to Vaisheshik, the Supreme, Lord Maheshwar, created and destroyed the world in a cycle that had no beginning and will have no end. The Lord directed the movement of atoms and enforced the law of karma. After the stress and pain of many lives experienced in the cycle of death and rebirth, the Lord eventually allowed escape from this misery by destroying the world. He later created a new world and the cycle of rebirth, and therefore the cycle of pain began anew. According to Nyaya Vaisheshik, knowledge of Abhava could be attained through perception. However, this is criticized by Mimamsa school, who says that how can it be known through perception when the thing itself is non-existence. Thank you very much for patiently watching the video, and don't forget to subscribe.